Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker gained nationwide attention for his stance against collective bargaining and mandatory union membership. Now, after spurring the anger of labor unions, he and others in the Wisconsin government are facing recall elections. Governor Walker joins me now. Governor, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks for coming in.
Jerry, good to be with you.
All right, tell our viewers, how did you manage to so tick off union members in Wisconsin?
Well, I'd say it's the big government union bosses that are upset. He actually talked to a lot of the public workers in our state, and they realize, unlike places like Illinois, where they're laying off thousands of employees because they're shutting down a dozen or more facilities, or other states doing the same thing, in Wisconsin, we avoided those massive layoffs. We protected taxpayers. We avoided cuts in things like Medicaid, and I think in the end, it's really the big government union bosses who are the ones that are the most upset here, because their money's at risk.
Governor, didn't you simply ask public sector workers to do what we private sector workers do all the time, and that's kick in on health care, kick in on our pensions, our retirement programs? Why should public sector workers get a break here? Why should we in the private sector be held to a higher standard?
Well, that's exactly right. What we're doing now in the state of Wisconsin is doing what I think most people think is reasonable, and that is public employees, including me, are matching our retirement contribution, and we're making a modest contribution for our health care premium, about 12.6%. That's about half of what the average middle-class taxpayer pays in our state. In fact, my brother's a good example. He works as a banquet manager at a hotel, part-time as a bartender. His wife works for a department store. They got two beautiful girls. They are a typical middle-class family. And he pointed out throughout this whole battle, he said, I pay about $800 a month or more just for his 401k and the little bit he can set aside his 401k and what he pays overall in his health care premium. He said, you're asking for a fraction of that. Why are people complaining about it? Well, it's because the big government union bosses don't want that union dues money going away from them. They want people to be forced to have to pay that. They no longer have to be forced to do that. They get to choose. They have the freedom of choice now.
We said before you're facing a recall election, and right now approval disapproval ratings even 47%. Do you think you're going to win this thing? And does this election, and by the way, it costs $9 million, okay? The voters are paying $9 million to do this.
Right.
Does this election, does it tell the broader country something about the power of unions?
Oh, I think it has a larger implication. On the one hand, you've seen the tens of millions of dollars that came in over the past year to attack me, first in this debate, then in the Supreme Court race, then $44 million was spent on all the 6 Republican state Senate elections for recalls last summer. Total funds spent, the majority of that was against Republicans, and the vast majority of that was from the big government union bosses. They're going to spend even more in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. But I think in the end we're going to prevail. I think ultimately the truth is our #1 tool. And when people see the facts that the unemployment rate is down from a year ago, in fact, it's the lowest it's been since 2008, when they see that we've balanced the budget without raising taxes or laying off thousands of public employees, they see we're making decisions that ultimately think more about the next generation.
All right, quick question before you go. I know you got $140 million for your state from this settlement with banks in the mortgage meltdown, but you're taking some of that money, $26 million, and plugging a budget hole. Why are you using the money for that? That's not what it's for.
Well, actually, that's not true. We get settlements all the time in the state government. Most of the time, all the money goes into the state budget. In this case, 82% of it goes directly to homeowners who've been affected by that. That is obviously a very significant portion, much larger than many settlements have been for other issues in the past. And the rest of it goes to pay off damages done to state governments and ultimately other governments at the local level to help them deal with the foreclosure crisis. So most of it's being spent for homeowners, 82%. The rest is going to offset the burden that's been caused upon the impact on the economy.
Well, good luck on the recall election. We'll certainly be following your story closely. We appreciate your time today, Governor Walker.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good to be with you.
Thank you.